little fly. You shouldn't have returned. I don't want to. You hit me. I didn't think you had the gall. An uppercut. Really? Well, I guess it's your funeral. You can decide whatever final action you'd like. Come now, did you think I'd let you hit me again? That was a critically wrong move, little fly. Oh, don't lose your courage now. You've started a fight, and it has to be finished. Here, why don't I clip my little fly's wings? Incredible that all that confidence fits in such a tiny, fragile body. You'd better hope the adrenaline is enough to keep you conscious, because I know exactly what I'm going to do with you. Wow, I didn't think you'd be able to dodge with one leg out of commission. You're just full of surprises, aren't you? Tell me, do you have another trick up your sleeve? Or did you really come unprepared and alone? Not the best of plans, if you ask me. Human, I think you'll find my exoskeleton is a little too thick for punches to crack. That hit to my head was a cheap shot. Now that I'm fighting, you don't stand a chance. Cheap shots seem to be what you have. My pedipalps are sensitive. You know what? I'm tired of this game. Didn't dodge that one, did you, fly? And now I can sit back and watch you fade. Oh, what's wrong? Oh, you can't climb on walls, can you? Well, I suppose you'll just crumble on my cave's floor then. Or maybe you could try to run. But that would hardly be a fair chase. I've caught you before. And now you're in much worse condition. I imagine you have a matter of seconds before my venom renders you unconscious. Then we can have some real fun. Ah, there's my favorite look of panic. Did you just realize how few options you have left? You could try to jump up to me. Quite the fruitless endeavor on one leg. You could start running, and no doubt collapse in a few feet. Or you could lay down and simply die. Accept your death. What'll it be? Well, it looks like the decision is about to be made for you. I'm sure you're familiar with the feeling of my venom in your veins. Why don't you greet it like the old friend it is? And Down falls the fly. Now we can play a new game. Welcome back to the land of the living, fly. Don't worry, your stay here will be short. I saw you stir, but you've yet to open your eyes. Are you too afraid to see what I have in store for you? It's probably the venom, still working through your system. Well, allow me to set the scene. As I'm sure you can feel, I've got you bound, all intertwined and draped over a tree branch. The only thing holding you in the air is me. You're not hanging over the ground, mind you. You're dangling over quite a steep drop. Remember that cliff I chased you to when we first met? The one that had almost no water at the bottom. The one that would be a near guarantee at death if you fell down it. I'll take your silence as a yes. So we're here, alone together. And I can kill you just by releasing my grip. Quite the predicament you found yourself in, isn't it? I want you to answer me, little fly. The only reason you're still alive is that I wish to talk. If you've gone mute, then I have no reason to keep you alive, and I will dispose of you. Aha! It speaks. And a question, no less. Sadly, it's not the fly's turn to talk. I only wanted an answer to one thing. Then I'll be dropping you, and you can try to squeak your prayers out before you hit the ground. Why couldn't you leave me alone? Every way I can see it, your demise was the only possible outcome. Was that your goal? Are you some sort of masochist? It's funny, but that's not an answer. I know to you the threat of death may not be the best motivator to speak. So tell you what. If you answer my question, your answer is at least a little bit fun. I'll bite you again, and you won't have to feel the pain when you hit the rocks. Stubborn little bug, aren't you? Fine. I don't need an answer as much as I need you out of my hair. And clearly, you can't be trusted to simply leave me alone. Any last words? Something bitter to make me regret your death, maybe. determined to the end. Respectable, but not enough to save you. Goodbye, human. No, you're not dead. I don't want you to read into this, human. I'm not doing this because I like you. Yes, you're on a web. I had a thin one under you as a safety net. I didn't think you'd actually call my bluff. Because I don't want to kill you. I already told you that. I don't want to kill anyone. I'm not very fond of murder, believe it or not. Yes, I've heard you. I have no problem with violence. I simply detest taking a life. I put that life behind me. Killing that elk for the wolves is the most murder I've done in a century. I usually subsist on fruits, vegetables, maybe a little honey if I find a hive. I don't hunt anything anymore. I don't think you want to know why. It's not a fun story by any means, and I don't like telling it. If I tell you, will you leave? Maybe. You've already grown so cheeky. Fine. Get comfortable. It's a long story, but I'll summarize. Driders are much smaller when we're born. We're a little fluffy. We've got big, bright eyes. One might even say we're cute, in a manner of speaking. I'm the runt, believe it or not. Of the 247 of us hatchlings, 9 of us were too small, too weak. That's why my venom's non-lethal. It's a birth defect. Driders have lots of children because most of them die. We are incredibly vulnerable when we are young, and there are far too many of us for a single mother to keep track of. So, my mother had to cut her losses and hedge her bets. Runts can't be given chances. They can't be afforded protection. It's too risky. I was forced to leave the cave and was expected to starve, alone. But the luckiest thing happened to me. A woman was picking berries in a forest, and she came across me. No more than a foot tall, cold, alone, hungry. She took pity on me. She brought me back to her village and raised me as her child. I grew up quickly, as Driders do. A couple of years and I had reached adolescence. Was already bigger than most of the humans in the village. My teeth had started to grow in, and I needed to eat quite a bit. I had no qualms against animal murder at the time, so I simply hunted often. I grew quite adept at it. My webs were invisible. My technique, perfect. I even sharpened my front legs to ensure I could finish what my venom started. My skills became worrying. The other villages didn't like it. They didn't like me. But my mother kept them at bay. She cited the good that I did for the community, how I protected them, and how I had never once harmed a human being. She eased their minds for a time. Soon, I was full grown. My mother, on the other hand, was all too human. I knew I'd outlive her. Even as she had been young, her lifespan simply wasn't comparable to mine. But I consoled myself. She wasn't that old. I thought I'd have maybe a decade or so to treat her to the life that she deserved. I'd learned to skin my catches, and we were making a pretty penny trading furs. With my help, she'd be able to retire in luxury. I'd care for her as she had me. I should mention this was a few 100 years ago. Mage medicines were a bleeding-edge invention afforded only to the upper echelon of society. So when the plague came, and my mother caught it, she didn't stand a chance. I cared for her as she faded. She told me she lived a full life, and she died with a smile on her face. She was an incredible woman. One small problem emerged as she was dying. She was sick, but the rest of the young, spry village was relatively unaffected, including myself. My biology made me immune to her plague, so I could neither spread it nor show any symptoms. Her, being the kind woman she was, insisted on staying inside alone and didn't allow a single visitor, except for me. It was at that time there were nasty rumors being spread. The other humans said I was killing her, slowly and cruelly, that I had her tied up in there, and that's why she couldn't have any visitors, so that I wouldn't have been found out. And without her voice to quell their fears, they started to worry that my violent tendencies would fall on them next. They were going to kill me. Or they'd planned to. And maybe I would have killed them. But my mother made me promise. Promise to spare them. So I fled. Those bastards wouldn't even let me stay by my mother's side as she passed. I wanted to do awful things to them. I wanted them to hurt. I wanted to show them the pain that they had given me. But I had made an oath. I had sworn off killing humans for my late mother's sake. And over the years, my willingness to kill faded. And so did my desire for revenge. I thought more about what it meant to take a life. What the difference between a human life and any other actually was. What my mother would think of me if she saw the things I did when I hunted. Hundreds of years gives you quite the perspective. So I allowed my hands to forget their skills. I decided I'd take work as a blacksmith or maybe a scholar. Anything to earn me a wage without killing. But despite my best efforts, I never found a town that would accept a Drider. I started living in caves, as my ancestors had, until I came upon this forest a few weeks ago. It was perfect. The cave was roomy, and the fruit trees alone could sustain me. It was simply one furry problem. If the werewolves ever came knocking and wanted me out, there would be no way I could bring myself to kill them. I would be forced to flee the best home I would ever find. So I tried to act menacing and threatening. I hoped the wolves wouldn't realize that I was a little shorter, smaller, weaker than the average Drider. Then one night, I saw you, and I hatched a plan to deliver me to safety. A selfish one at that. And that's my story so far. Yes, I suppose from a certain point of view, you were never in any real danger. If the werewolves had become violent, I doubt I would have let them kill you. It was always my intention that you were going to make it out alive. Though not without harm. I am sorry about your leg. I know your injury will make it hard for you to walk to civilization. If you would like, I will allow you one more night. I'll find herbs and make you a crutch so you may leave in the morning. I should also mention, if you are staying here, you do have to stay within my cave. After everything that's happened, I can't have the facade falling apart now. All right. Let me carry you there. You can close your eyes and get some rest. Hello everyone, Gigi here. Thank you for listening all the way to the end of the audio. Hope you enjoyed the Drider Little Fly series, part 3. Thank you to the SplashiestPig for writing this series, and hopefully we will see something coming up shortly from them. Thank you as well to my Patreon supporters, Crush, Rating for Pants, Ryan W., Hutton G., Jack C., Jacob M., Eve of Spades, Matthew S., Novi Klopitz, Kite, Daniel E., Liam C., Doug's, Totally Not a Bouquet of Eels, WhatGiraffe, James L, PDB, Slimecore, Soft Nugget, and Frosty. If you'd like early access to audios along with a couple of other goodies, check out my Patreon and subscribe if you'd like to. I appreciate your support. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.